Welcome to the fourth in my series on Pirkei Avot, at least for the first chapter, which means we are now at the fourth text in this first chapter of Pirkei Avot, and we have featured not one but two different they're not rabbis, right? This is still in the before times, before the rabbinic movement took place. So this is still during the Second Temple times. We have Yossi ben Yoezer ish Tzreidah. So this Yossi, son of Yoezer, I'm going to say a man of Tzreidah for now. I'm going to get into this a little bit more. And Yossi ben Yochanan ish Yerushalayim, that this Yossi, son of Yochanan, who is a man of Jerusalem, and that these two guys, they're not rabbis, or men, we'll call them men because they're both described as men, received it from them. Now, presumably this is when the them is receiving from both Antigonus, the man of Socho from the previous text, and then even before that text, we have Simon the Righteous. So they received from them. And remember, Simon the Righteous was one of the remnants, one of the remainers from this Anshe Knesset Hagdolah, these men of this great assembly, or men of this great gathering. I realized yesterday I was talking about Antigonus, this man of Socho. What does this man of Socho mean? Man of Socho, just as we see here, man of Tzreidah and man of Jerusalem, they seem to be, they're obviously references to particular geographical places, villages, towns. Jerusalem is obviously more than simply a town. There could be different things. On the one hand, it could be simply that they were the leader of that particular town, village, or city. That's one possibility. And a different possibility is that that is where they are originally from, but they are somehow representing that town, and maybe they were part of this or had some sort of connection to this Anshe Knesset Hagdolah, because that literally translates to men of the Great Assembly. And each of these guys we have talked about, Simon the Righteous, Antigonus ish Socho, and then both Yossi, son of Yoezer, and Yossi ben Yochanan, are also described as men. So I think that it has some resonance, verbal resonance around leadership, maybe even representation from a particular town that maybe they gathered. So I just wanted to go think a little bit more about what does this mean, man, not just simply a gender description saying they happen to be a man. I think there's something more to it along the lines of leadership. Now, also talking about this Kiblu Mehem, this receiving from them. Now, remember, these two men have received it from Simon the Righteous as well as Antigonus ish Socho, this Antigonus son, man of Socho. They received. What did they receive? Again, they received the Torah, which has, of course, means the Torah, the 5 books of Moses, but it also sounds like this mantle of leadership, a mantle of Jewish leadership. There's a particular context there. So that it could be. So that's just the first line here. Then we see that Yossi ben Yoezer ish Tzreidah, so this Yossi, son of Yoezer, the man of Tzreidah, he says, may your house be a house of meeting for the sages, and sit in the very dust of their feet, and drink in their words with thirst. So he says 3 things. I spoke earlier in a previous one that 3 is really the most significant number throughout this entire work, and it's no surprise seeing here 3 different aspects of his wisdom here. This first one is, let your house be a house of meeting for the sages. I had thought about this for many years, as thinking about make it a place where the environment is a place of almost like a spiritual place, make it a place where people who have wisdom, right? They're chachamim, they're sages, they're wise people. Make it a place that is a cultural context, a cultural environment in which they would feel comfortable, as opposed to, let's say, a place where it's just a place where people just get drunk, or maybe it's like a circus, or like a coliseum, right? The crazy stuff they had going on there, where wisdom is not being valued. But here we actually see, so maybe the context of this text is really describing making a milieu of where wisdom is welcomed and maybe even being fostered. So, and I think this is still true, by the way. I had that vision, I had that understanding of this text for many years, thinking about making it an environment, a milieu, in which wisdom is welcomed and even fostered. I had an additional insight, which I think is really, really important. As a rabbinical student, I had the opportunity to go with other rabbinical students while I was in New York City to go to the apartment of Ruth Messenger. And it was such a nice apartment. It was a great place. And while we were there, I realized to myself, it doesn't just mean the cultural milieu, the environment, but the intellectual environment, but also having an environment where it's actually aesthetically pleasing in a visual sense, in a material sense. And both this material sense and a visual sense of having a place where it's really a fitting place to have, right? If people have really wonderful and lovely places as opposed to some places that are dirty, unkempt, there's something to be said for allowing and valuing the sages to come to such a materially appropriate place for gathering. We still have two more. Now, sitting in the dust of their feet and drinking their words with thirst. This is regarding the sages that, you know what? How many opportunities do you have to glean from wisdom? Now, he is explicitly valuing wisdom, also valuing the people who contain that wisdom and hopefully will share that wisdom. And that's what Yossi ben Yoezer Ish Sareda is offering here, is suggesting, is recommending here, is having of really trying to appreciate and value the words of these sages. And it's not an opportunity to take lightly. So I hope this was valuable and helpful. More than just simply the words of wisdom here, but also understanding who these men were. All right. Thank you for watching.